Welcome back to another episode of the Day After podcast.
What's up, guys? I hope you all have enjoyed the pre-merge of Survivor 42, because this is the final episode of pre-merge, not Furge. The Furge episode is next.
There's most likely one more pre-jury member that will join this group, but ultimately, I consider Sydney making the merge last season, so I consider everyone here to make the merge. I know that technically, they have to earn their way into the merge, but it's the merge boot because it's the first vote where everyone is participating in some facets.
It's a Survivor pet peeve of mine, where the person that if a person makes it to the merge and it's that like 12th spot where they don't make it to the jury, it's like a little thing where I'm like, but they made it this far. We'll get into all that stuff later about the merge and stuff like that. But first, we have to talk about this episode because a little straightforward, but there was some entertaining stuff in it.
Yeah, definitely entertaining. We definitely saw this one coming. How it was going to go. Figured from Voxy it was probably going to be Daniel. If it was Ika, it'd probably be Roxroy. Ika did do pretty good in the challenge, though. There was a secret scene. I will say Roxroy had a secret scene, which was all about him fishing. So he had a fishing scene, actually, where he catches an octopus. And yeah, he catches octopus and they eat a bunch of octopus right before the challenge, which gives them that energy to win pretty much. So
that seemed like very important. Why did they?
Yeah, so by that virtue, Roxroy has lost winner equity because that would have obviously made the edit if he wins the season. Which I'm just so on the I feel he goes home next week. I think he's the person that this tribe Tori's clearly the first person to jump ship. She said so herself.
Yeah, that's how it opens up. I don't want to partner with these people. She is in a very interesting position in that sense, because everyone in this episode, they're pretty aware that the merge is coming. They're down to 13 people, and they know it's either at 12, 11. It's time to think about it.
Yeah, it's any time now.
Yeah. And so why wouldn't Tori want to take care of someone else on the tribe or something like that?
We're also in a very interesting position going into this merge because it is 4-4-4 in terms of the three tribes. The first time in Survivor history, three tribes have been tied going into the merge.
I was about to say, because it is nice
for
me, sometimes aesthetically pleasing, symmetry. You've ever watched Soul Eater, Death the Kid, sometimes symmetry pleases me.
It's nice because it makes it feel like there's good candidates on all of the tribes, and it's not this is a good candidate, but how do they make it to the end? There's not as many of those because it feels because it's so even. It could go to any tribe. Any tribe has a realistic potential going in here. I think the tribe that will most likely stick together is the Taku tribe. We have been teased a little bit about Marianne maybe being the one to want to flip on Jonathan, but I don't fully buy that. I don't think she's someone who's going to be flipping.
Nah. I mean, here's the thing, and if we want to talk about Taku. Say that fast.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk. You beat me to the dad joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it starts off and Jonathan, he is doing his best of holding his tongue and everything. He puts it right, it doesn't look good, if snapping at someone for like a split moment, or especially if they're like, someone younger and seemingly defenseless. But I don't know, out there in the rain and sometime, and like even Lindsay was kind of getting on his nerves too, and he's just like, yep, yep. He's just
Yeah,
like,
they were talking about Mario Kart. Apparently, Jonathan doesn't like Mario Kart.
what kind of he went down like a fraction of a cool point.
Yeah,
He has them in spades, so I'm not too concerned about
yeah.
that. Like my stock did not go down at all. It was just like maybe 0.01 decimal point
Yeah.
less. But like, you know, I don't know. Like I'm someone where it really depends on the situation, but I'm okay with like quiet, or like sometimes I need it just to like think. Um, so I get that, but I guess like because of like the energy of Marianne and everything,
Mm.
it is something like debated about Survivor fans. It's like, oh, do you think like she's too much, or do you think, oh, that quirkiness is very charming?
Yeah, it's very
Um,
polarizing. It's a
it
very
is.
polarizing character. Yeah, it's
It is, which is funny because it's just someone that's very, very positive and talking, and we never had someone so, have so much like, excitement and childlike wonder
Mhm.
in this game before. Like, yeah, not even Wendy was like this, which
Mhm.
was like the closest contestant to Marianne.
Yeah, because there was still a bit of a bitter negative atmosphere that Wendy would create. Whereas, yeah, I don't really see that with Marianne. Even like her fights almost have like she's still almost like has this playful tone with it.
Yeah,
Which is can definitely seem weird sometimes when I mean the whole argument here with Jonathan like almost hitting her or whatever. I mean, I feel like that was Marianne's fault. It looked like Jonathan was clearly doing something right here, and Marianne just walks over right where he's doing it.
yeah.
So,
It's always, for those, it's always different. It's difficult because like it's just one frame of it, and
yeah,
like 3 seconds of it. Kind of
yeah,
like that episode of Malcolm in the Middle, like when Lois crashed a car. Turns
mhm,
out she wasn't at fault at all, or
yeah,
no, she didn't crash a car. She caused a car accident, but she didn't.
mhm,
Um, so it's really tough to say. Either way, it's just like it is common knowledge. Even if like you were already on that path, if you see someone about to chop wood,
mhm.
you're clear. And
Yeah,
weapons,
yeah.
we're not. It's not a weapon. It's a tool. But
Mhm,
like for the sake of like, oh, it is a sharp object. Rule number one about sharp objects: if someone is sweet, someone's about to swing it or something like that,
yeah,
adjust your route accordingly, or like go behind them, like use your best judgment. It could be a thing of like, maybe he wasn't clear of like what he was about to do.
uh,
Like, hey, I'm chopping wood. Watch your toes.
mhm.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. What I like about this thing also with Jonathan is that he admits that he would be probably perceived as a villain
Yeah.
compared because he's the big guy yelling at a little girl. Of course, Survivor. If Jonathan doesn't win the season, would have turned that into him being the villain of the season somehow
Yeah.
by editing. Like it's very easy to have the evil music behind whatever anyone's saying, and to make it seem like that person's the villain of a season. Like they did that with Shan pretty much. Like even though I don't know everything Shan was doing wasn't necessarily evil, but she had a villain theme,
She
which
was an antagonist.
yeah, but they used this villain theme to essentially make her like the villain season of the season. Um,
Yeah.
and they would have done something very similar if Jonathan yells at Marianne a few times and doesn't win the season. They would have been like, okay, well now we gotta really amp that up and make it a bigger deal. I'm not saying he's winning the season. I'm saying that he acknowledged it, and I think at the very least, it made them not want to go down that path.
I feel just because wherever Jonathan
Mhm.
goes off in the sense of like gets voted off, not goes off as in
Yeah,
Scream.
yeah.
Uh, Wanted to clarify that. he's already like proven himself to be like Survivor, yeah, and a Survivor icon at this point. Like he's someone that's going to be talked about, going to be in a lot of fan lists for like fan seasons or like fantasy seasons, stuff like that. He's definitely going to be someone that everyone talks about because he's just proven himself. I think even because yes, it's pretty much it's pretty much agreed upon. Yeah, not a very challenge heavy or challenge strong cast. And so like I feel like even if it was a challenge strong cast, he would still stand out because he's just like, just one tough cookie.
Yeah, it definitely
and
feels like they should have flipped Jonathan with someone else on 41 because at least 41 had like at least Danny McRae. Like there's at least a few, and Xander, like there's a few stronger people, but they really put Jonathan on a significantly weaker cast, which is maybe, I don't know, maybe that was on purpose. Maybe they want someone to break the immunity record, which by the way, I think it is possible this season.
It definitely is. I'm just like, it's going to be crazy to see it actually happen. But I feel like with Jonathan, like I said, like we mentioned last time, if you haven't watched his audition tape video, he's like a really interesting guy. And like when you first look at him, when we were looking at his picture and occupation and stuff, like we even said, oh, he could definitely be a villain, or like, we could see like that, he might not vibe well with his tribe, something like that.
Yeah,
but like,
and in the pregame stuff, he was just saying that he has that record and there's only one survivor. Like it definitely had even an impression that he has some villain persona.
Yeah, and who knows? He could be I've said sleeper threat, sleeper villain, where it's just like, oh crap, he goes down that road. I don't think we're gonna see that from him, but he's definitely someone where he can give off that impression. Look, I'm someone where if I'm not like actively smiling, I can look mad or disinterested. Like, if I haven't been smiling in a while and stuff, I just look like
you got resting bitch face.
Resting bitch face, or just like a negative like look, and I can counterbalance that with like smiles or whatnot. So I get it. I get what the assumption, because that assumption has been made about me many times. But yeah, I feel that team, and it is interesting because we are going in with 4-4-4, and usually because it's never really even, that leaves like one tribe, usually the smallest tribe, kind of like in the middle to kind of go wherever, and they're usually the one that like can flip something. So now the fact that it is like all fours, there's a lot of like flexibility, and like not just like if one person wants to go against their tribe like Tori, but if like Tori and Marianne and like Chanel form like outcasts like alliance, and it's like not.
It is very interesting because there's, I think, a very clear someone who flips on each tribe that has that flip potential, and it's like solely like one person that I think on each tribe is willing to flip, and then I think the other three are like pretty solid. I do think if Marianne flipped, she takes Omer with him because they do. He knows about the idol. Every time that we've had Marianne like complain about Jonathan, she doesn't talk necessarily to the camera. She's talking to Omer first, and then we're getting like both of their thoughts almost simultaneously, instead of just through one of them. So it definitely seems like they'd be tied together if there was a flip. But as I said, I don't think Taku is the likely flip. I think they're the likely stay with us, come with us, and we'll take the numbers.
I don't know. Sometimes that merge, it really also depends on how things pan out next episode. Even if there isn't a, let's say they decided not to do the hourglass thing. We don't know if it is or not. But it
seems like it's coming back, but heavily edited.
We're gonna put a pin in the hourglass thing for a sec. because like we're getting at least 7 people with immunity going to tribal council.
Mhm.
And we also have one thing that I thought about too. Omer still hasn't received his no vote yet.
Yeah, he doesn't
So,
know
like,
about it yet.
exactly. So he's going into this tribal council, whatever position he is in, without a vote as well.
Mhm.
Um, which he won't know until he gets there when his plan is already set.
Yeah,
And
or Chanel tells him, there's a potential that Omer will immediately go talk to Chanel and be like, "Hey, what do you do?" And then it's
You're
up to Chanel then maybe blindsides Omer and say, "Oh yeah, I didn't take the risk," and then it might make Omer think he's got an extra vote, and they plan around that, and then he has no vote, so. That's a potential thing that might happen. But also Chanel's the most likely to flip. So if she does flip to Taku, she should definitely tell Omer.
probably. I mean, there's a lot we can see happen with this Furge merge situation. But before we get into that, one person that's definitely going to impact this merge, we got to talk about Drea finding the idol, which
I called it. I freaking called it. There's so many people on Survivor being like, "Oh my God, Survivor duped all of us." And I was like, "I called it."
It duped us all. And another thing, it's just like, it's interesting because like, obviously, because we know how voices and stuff work, I guess like they just decided to be like, yo,
Yeah.
Tori, can you come over here? And
no. So that wasn't Tori's voice. That it was actually confirmed that what we heard in the preview wasn't Tori's voice. A YouTuber, and this is what actually gave me a bit of the beginning of this theory, was that someone had gone through and been like, "Hey, I don't think that's Tori's voice," after they'd seen a couple episodes, and it was confirmed that it was definitely not Tori's voice. So and that it was Drea, yeah. So they just so they used Drea's voice line, but used Tori's reaction. But because we didn't know really like their voices and it was very quick, people just don't notice.
That's great. It's so crazy to think about. So thank you for giving us that misdirection. Because like we obviously knew the one that was like confirmed was Mike. It was between it was either between Omer and Marianne, if either one of them was going to get it.
Yeah, it could have been either. They could, we saw Marianne holding it, but you could always since both of them were there. Yeah, it could have looked. Yeah, so it was possible. But they and yeah, we didn't even see Tori's reaction. We didn't. So now I'm wondering, does she find another advantage down the season, and is Tori still potentially safe and spoiling votes?
We would have to. There is a possibility, and it could be fixed with editing.
Yeah,
we would have to look at that clip and see what her buff it looks like. Now they have gone in the past and like edit things like that.
Yeah.
However, that could be a clue.
Yeah, because it's so interesting because you see her holding a paper, and if she found an advantage of some kind, they're not going to not include that in the show. Like if you find an advantage, you got screen time. You have guaranteed yourself screen time if you find something.
Yeah.
So that's what I now maybe it's another editing trick that they use where they took a little bit of someone holding it, but then it cropped Tori's reaction in there real quick. Like maybe something like that happens, but
I don't know. We're talking about the same promotional material that decided to be like, "Yep, we got a medevac."
I don't think there was a lot of thought into that. I think they were just looking for the best reactions that they could sell, maybe. And
they're not pulling like Marvel stuff where they'll put in characters, take away characters, include shots that aren't there. Like they don't go that far.
Yes. Exactly. So we don't really know. But yeah, it's interesting nonetheless.
Yeah. So with all these advantages and stuff, we still got to talk about Drea. And she's going in, she's like survivor rich right now. And
Mhm.
because like this episode, they were in fact activated,
Mhm.
which was something I'm glad to see happen because
Mhm.
like, oh, like
Yeah.
uh
The payoff for this one though definitely was nowhere near the Nasir one.
yeah,
Yeah, because
because they like surprised it.
yeah, we knew where all three idols were. It was really just, is Mike going to say it? Which,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I guess it was the right move to say it. So we'll have to see how it goes into the merge. Because the
Well,
vote was necessary, but also it was already a weird vote anyway. So, but we'll get to that later.
yeah. Um, and the thing is, like, because Drea has all these different advantages, depending on like which ones that Tori knows, because
Mhm.
I don't think Drea has, or I don't think any of the three have like talked about their amulets yet to
Yeah.
anyone else.
Yeah,
Or
in
at
fact,
least
it seems like the television screen has decided to just ignore them for now, and then when the episode makes it important, it will reveal itself once more.
yeah. Uh it's well, I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of advantages now, but I
Mhm.
feel like as opposed to 41, this one is like handling it a little bit better.
Mhm.
um I don't know why, it just is.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because her ally Romeo, and I have to give props to Romeo.
Mhm.
We did get to see his backstory for this
Yeah.
episode, which was nice. um he came a long way in the sense of like, like based on like all the promotional material, kind of similar to like Jonathan, but like obviously Romeo's a very thin male, and
He
so
was one
like
of
we
the
were
skinny dudes.
one of the skinny dudes, and so like we didn't really expect him to do well in that regard because he said he was going to play so hard, so cutthroat, but like he
Mhm.
seems very likable, and someone where I can see him kind of like do that sleeper threat kind of thing where it's like, all right, Drea, all the focus is on her.
Yeah.
I can scoop in and like kind of like, do my own thing.
Yeah, take Drea to like final five, final six, cut her around there, and then like take the credit because you guys are going to probably be perceived as the duo. Take the credit at that point. So only having to go like one or two tribals further.
Yeah, 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 and it's really. I'm still not sure where Roxroy is going to play into all of this. I feel like, yes, he's a very loyal guy. And like they were even straight up, I was like, yeah, we weren't going to tell you who, because we knew you were just going to vote Tory. And he was like, I was minorly upset with it, but not like too like beaten up about it.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're the only person to vote wrong going back at camp, you're not really allowed to have any outbursts about it because it just then like solidifies, okay, you're next.
I mean,
Whereas,
yeah, especially since he's known to be a man that's very set in his ways.
yeah,
It's hard to change his mind.
exactly. So yeah, but yeah, I think Romeo's playing a pretty good under the radar game. Definitely someone to look out for. Which I'm surprised. Our Brant Steele had him going out first from Tori's idol. So which by the way, I want to say our Brant Steele got this episode correct.
Really?
Daniel Strunk went out in 13th place in our Brant Steel right before the merge, where the first merge person doesn't get into the jury. So it is exactly where he ends up placing.
Good job, Brant Steele.
It
Good
got
job.
one. It got one. Yeah. And Jenny was the one that went out right before this one too. So on that tribe. So it's
it knows some stuff like last season 41 we had predicted Danny McRae being like so like such a dominating like force, and making it pretty far, not necessarily to like 5, but to 6 ain't too shabby.
yeah, it's
Just
pretty
one off.
close. Yeah.
Yeah. And that a tribe would make it in without having to go to tribal council before the merge. Granted, that one was 2, but like still.
It also predicted Ricard being a great Survivor player, which ended up happening. So yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I always like kind of following up on our Brand Steel to see if anything's come true.
Yeah, it's funny. As I was because people at home, I was recently at Disneyland, and I was thinking about when I was a kid. They made it was like a writing assignment in class, and it was like, oh, write a story. I forget what the assignment was, but I was making a sequel to Return of the Jedi. So like second grade Ryan actually predicted that Palpatine would come back way back when. So like I just randomly had that thought. Surprise. Sometimes you never know what little hints the universe will give you.
Yeah.
In the Brand Steel verse as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping this hourglass twist that we're gonna get next week. How great would it be if they break the hourglass and everyone that got voted out comes back into the game? Let's root for that hourglass twist. Come on, Ryan. Are we hoping for that?
No.
Bring back Daniel. Bring back Zach.
Oh, the thing is, like, I'm pretty happy with who we have. I was surprised that like Swati went home so early and Maria.
Yeah, well,
like,
I think we have a very like I would have if you told me that these were the people who go home pre-merge, I'd be like that makes sense. That makes sense, like why they would be going home early. So ultimately, yeah, I'm satisfied. I wanted Daniel to maybe make it a little further than Roxroy. I think that was my last like hope, but I didn't want Daniel to make it much further. Like he's the only person I would have wanted to go home besides Daniel was Roxroy. So I'm not too.
Daniel dug his own grave, and it was kind of like pretty clear that it was going to be one or the other. I am a little, I wouldn't say I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that he didn't play a shot in the dark, but at the same time, it's like, if you're not in the numbers and it's up to your tribe, you might as well play it.
Well, apparently, so I just before we got on here, actually, I watched his exit interview with Rob Cesternino, and apparently, right, like a few hours before Tribal or something, Hai and him had like a full hour-long discussion that was very emotional, very raw, and ultimately made Daniel feel that he was super safe. And now, so Daniel's like whole thing was like, Hai is a very good player. Like he knows how to deceive you way more than the stream's letting you know.
Bro. That's a very interesting bit of information.
His exit interview is interesting because this tribe's 2 tribal councils have been the messiest tribal councils of the season. Just complete chaos. Things are just not going very well. Good on Lydia for not risk. I mean, I guess she could have risked her vote because Roxroy in a million years was never going to risk his vote there.
Yeah, their little interaction was very interesting in the sense that it wasn't really what we got was Lydia's backstory and stuff, and like about her journey for body positivity. I mean, like especially when Survivor in the past would definitely it's hot out there and stuff, and a lot of people would go like bathing suits, stuff like that, and especially for like females. So something like that, especially if you are on the curvier side, it can be a lot more, especially if you have body image issues. So like, I used to have body issues. And so like, I understand, like I would go into a pool and not take my shirt off. And yeah, so like, and we're talking like, I don't care if I was dripping wet or something, I would stay out of, I would wait until I was full, my shirt was like semi-dry before going in. I would not take my shirt off. I almost did not go into this one pool because it's like, oh, you can't have a t-shirt on. So I really get why this, I really get why this could be like a very important journey for her. if that is like an insecurity. Which it was something where it spoke to me because, like, for those of you who don't know, I used to be a bit chubbier. Not like that there was anything wrong with that, but like, I wanted to go running more and be more active, and that's just what I decided to do.
If it helped you, now you would have fit in very well with the Skinny Dude Alliance. So.
Oh yeah. Some people have compared me to a certain first boost.
Which, by the way, I want to say, I think Zach, out of this pre-merge like group, honestly, is the most likely to come back for a pre-merge season. Like, I am rooting. It's I think it's up to either Zach or Daniel. I think they're the most likely. Maybe Swati, but
I feel like Swati would be like the one where some people would scratch their heads, mostly because like she was playing a sleeper game and then it just kind of like blew up.
I think she only, I think if they were doing a second chance pre-merge kind of situation where there's multiple people they could bring and it was up to a ballot, I think maybe they bring her for like that kind of like votes. And of course, there's always like on some of those kind of seasons, you scratch your head at some people being like, I guess they brought that person back. I think she might slot into that as well. But at least in terms of like, I think their go-tos will probably be Zach, because he's the most, if you're talking about first boots, he is the most important first boots besides like a Reem Daly, who had to be on the season the whole time.
Zach was a nice guy. Like, I know I wasn't like rooting super hard for him or anything, but like, it was like,
he gave us a fun episode. Like, he was fun while he was out there. He had 6 confessionals in one episode, so good for him. Which, by the way, Daniel is now the person voted out with the most confessionals at the end of it. I believe he had 16 confessionals by the end of this episode.
Well, I think because he was so like such an interesting like character and stuff, that like it was just so like, we kind of wanted to see what he was doing as well as like
he was definitely the most important person in those 2 Vadi tribal councils.
Yeah, especially one thing that really sealed his fate this episode, the whole arm thing. And it's funny how that really played into his elimination, where it was just kind of like something where it was like, oh shit. So retroactively saying my LVP for that episode was technically right, because the arm thing really did end up hurting him in the long run, because when he was swimming and stuff, and apparently like on his tribe, he was like, oh yeah, my arm and stuff. And that's why he was sitting out in so many challenges. Really bit him in the butt.
Yeah, well, apparently this is another thing he talked about on his exit interview, was that the doctors, the survivor doctor, said he wasn't allowed, like he was supposed to sit out of those challenges, because if he did them, they said that he might suffer long-term damage. So he was literally told by the doctors that he's not allowed to do it, but they gave him the okay to go snorkeling and look for fish, because it didn't involve as much strain on like random kind of movements that could kind of happen because things are going around everywhere. So that's what he said on his exit interview.
I'm interested how many like people have to sign like NDAs when it comes to a lot of things. I'm wondering, especially for this, like how much of this was like something he wasn't supposed to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that was the edit, was they wanted to give a more solid reason why he goes out this episode. And so they use the fishing thing as like the scapegoat. It's the same way with like Zach's challenge in the first episode. He actually doesn't go home because of the challenge loss. He goes home from external factors involving Tori. But Survivor doesn't want they're like, that's not a story. Let's have
they don't want it to seem like too random.
Yeah, so they give like an extra thing, like, oh, this person did this bad, so they're going home because of this. Like a very easy for the casual fans to understand.
Well, I wonder if they did Daniel tell his tribe members this before or after the whole thing?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, that's a good question. I have no idea. He didn't tell much about his interactions with the tribe, letting them know about this. It could have been, he could have not. Yeah, I mean, he had a very like in 14 minutes he had like, just so much, and the like Ron Cesternino had so many more questions he couldn't get to because there's just so much in like he Daniel Strunk might be a premier person that goes to and does the deep dive that Ron Cesternino does, which is like never happened with a pre-merge person. So
Yeah. Well, Zach or Daniel, both lovable nerds in their own way. Um, Daniel was someone where it. I don't blame not Taku, Vati. So many words. I don't really blame them. The one thing for getting rid of him, the one thing that was very interesting, because keeping Chanel was, I was like, it is one where, because like both of them were likely to like flop, or like, the thing is, Daniel was someone that could, still like be an ally and then last minute just change his mind, where Chanel looks like, all right, we have to deal with her right then and there. So that's one thing. And another thing we got to talk about with Chanel as well is her random vote for Mike.
yeah, this is I can't rationalize it other than it's a bad move. Because you forced yourself into a tie, whereas if you voted Daniel, it would have been a guaranteed he goes out. I know Stephen Fishback thought that it was potentially that Daniel was going to play a shot in the dark, that maybe she spooked him, that he spooked her by threatening to play the shot in the dark. That's not true. He had no intention to play the shot in the dark, so she was not afraid of a shot in the dark happening here from him.
Maybe it's something that she'll explain next episode, because obviously Mike is going to be like, "Who voted?" He was like, "Who voted for me?"
And she can't say it's Daniel's fault now. Daniel is gone, and he went in to vote. He couldn't vote for Mike. He had to vote for Chanel there. So yeah, it's basically saying like, it is now a very clear and defined totem pole on the body tribe, with Chanel at the bottom, followed by Mike, followed by Lydia, followed by Hai. I think that's the hierarchy of
hierarchy.
Yep, the hierarchy. Man, if only I could have given that information to Hai out there, we could have had a great episode title. Yeah,
I mean, it's still early. I don't know if like all the episodes were named yet. I don't think they also name episodes after contestants. It's just usually a quote that's relevant.
But if someone uses hierarchy in a great line, I think they would definitely put that in if it's catchy.
Fair enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think we pretty much covered most, except for the challenge. We dabbled a little bit. We did see a little bit puzzle prowess when it came to Tori. Usually she is on the puzzles, but like when it came to the braids, she was able to navigate it very, very well. Something, because like I would say early merge, we don't really see too much of the puzzles, but as we get like deeper and deeper in, if she makes it that far, it's something to keep an eye out for, I think.
Yeah, we also saw Omer struggling heavily at that same puzzle, almost costing the Taku tribe. Luckily, they have Jonathan, who literally can just immediately move on and just peg those things right away.
Just like boom, boom.
Now, this is something that people have said they think editing really helped Jonathan look good here, actually, because apparently there's more bags out there than what it seemed like that he threw.
Well, I mean,
so there was definitely way more attempts that we didn't see.
I kind of already kind of figured that out, but at the same time, like I feel like if you're gonna have anyone do anything physical, Jonathan, no matter what.
He's going to give his tribe. He just gave his tribe a huge lead, pretty much at anything physical related. If there was a physical aspect to a challenge, you know, you knew the Talkie tribe was going to leave that portion probably ahead of than everyone else.
Yeah, it is interesting. With to kind of like expand on Omer's like could have been performance anxiety.
Mhm.
And if that's the case, is it really going to affect him in like, you know, because the individual game is coming up soon.
Yeah.
Um, and when it comes to like challenges and stuff, is that going to play a factor? Because it can really, even if like you're really great at puzzles or you're really great at a skill, performance anxiety, whether it can be anything, not just like a performance, like actors or comedians, but like also, you know, in sports, in you know, let's say debate team or like public speaking or something like that, or like this in a challenge in a game, because there is like an audience or something, it could make someone like stall because it's all on you. We saw a little bit of that with Natalie Anderson in 40, where, you know, like she was built up a lot and she kept like, if she didn't have those like 3 advantages going into that challenge, we could have had a very different Survivor finale for 40.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and also reference to League of Legends. Recently, they've been bringing crowds back in, and so there's a lot of players that actually have never played a professional game in front of an audience. And so right now, there's a lot of like weeding out and almost trying to figure out who of this like last couple years are good players that don't have a lot of anxiety on stage, because a lot of the veterans are coming through way more now than the rookies. Even though when there was no audience, the rookies were holding their own, or if not doing better. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's very easy for just you know, when the pressure is on, it changes a lot of your performance. I mean, I think Jonathan, this is another thing. I don't think he's going to have that performance anxiety out there,
no.
because he's literally done stuff like this in front of people.
Yeah,
So yeah.
so he's gonna be fine.
Mhm.
Omer, it could have been just like one fluke.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know like his entire psychology and stuff. Like I watch a lot of stuff about psychology and things like that. I am not
Mhm.
like a licensed person by any
Mhm.
means. Um, but like, you know, it is something like, especially since I've seen this a lot when it comes to someone that has been a competitive gamer before, as well as someone who you know, has been in like talent shows or like auditions and stuff like that, in competitive settings, or even just like performing. I've seen it happen. You know, it's I know like in class, like I'm a great actor and everything, but like back in high school, more facts about Ryan. There was one thing where it was like I was like shaking and like I couldn't get the words out for one thing, or first talent show I auditioned for, my legs were like literally shaking when I was on stage, and I was like, no, no.
Interesting.
Uh, yeah,
I've never had anxiety around performing. I always I remember like the first play I did. I remember I had like this one really good joke, and I still remember to this day, you know, telling that joke for everyone, and everyone laughing. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I want to do this all the time.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we could get into like the acting things, or like the performance things that made us really get there, but
Mhm.
the yeah, it's thing is like these things happen, and it can even happen to like pros. Like look at Tasha in the one challenge back in Cambodia. She's you know, she won quite a few challenges, but like there was a point where she felt like, oh, I can't do this anymore, and she is a strong woman, and like no one really like looks down on that. In fact, like I forgot it happened until I like rewatched the episode back when I was rewatching every single season. You know, it happens to the best of us, and like performance anxiety or like anything like that, could come up. It could be something where it was just like, just we could be looking way into it. And just Omer just had trouble with like the braids or whatever. Um,
Yeah,
but we'll
yeah,
see.
it could be way over analyzing because when I think Taku's going to stick together. If that is the case, they might be the majority alliance that ends up being part of this. So when you're the majority alliance, you want to win these challenges. You want someone who is constantly winning immunity, and they got
Yeah.
Jonathan for that physical side. That means that they need someone for more of these puzzles and stuff to win the
Yeah,
immunities
Omer.
for them. And you'd assume it's going to be Omer that does it. So if he does have trouble with some of these puzzles, that could be an opportunity for the bottom to make a rise and swing at the top.
Yeah. Another thing I have to mention, because like next episode, obviously the merge,
Mhm.
these people are going to like interact with the first time if it wasn't the prisoner's dilemma, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So it's going to be curious to see who clicks. I said this a few episodes back, but I really think Roxroy and Mike are really going to bond because, similar things like their father figures, very like, loyal people. And I feel
Mhm.
like they will get along. Watch, they're not. Watch, now that I say it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, Mike
They're
just
going to feud
immediately
against each
turns on
other.
Roxroy and it causes him to go home.
Yeah. We'll see. But it's one of the things where it's like you don't know how, like, kind of like similar to tribe chemistry when we're doing these breakdowns and everything. You don't really know until you see it happen how these different members are going to interact with each other. Or I think one thing that you kind of called was the Chanel Omer thing, where it'd be like, yeah, whether it's like, oh yeah, you don't have a vote, or oh, like kind of like coaxing him into a trap that way, um, or like the whole thing with the amulet people. If
Yeah.
Lindsay and Andrea, they're going to, like try and target each other, or are they actually going to work together, or like what's the deal? What's the deal here? Or is it going to be a much bigger thing this time around because it's in play?
Yeah, I'm imagining. I don't know if it will be the next vote when one of these advantage amulet people gets targeted, but you definitely have to imagine it's going to be in the early part of the merge. We might be seeing one or two of them get taken out because someone wants their advantage amulet to become an idol.
Yeah.
Specifically, Drea. I mean, if Drea gets that and has two idols and an extra votes, I mean, she just gonna beast out to the end.
She could maybe. We don't know, and we also don't know if that one secret advantage that was on the sit-out bench will come back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's I think there's a few another one also. Danny had the chance to find an idol last season, but didn't find it. And who knows if that was a Beware advantage or who knows really what that was. So.
Oh, and we can't forget about, I like this, but I know you called this, that it might eliminate someone I really love, and then I'll be not a big fan of it. But like the do or die
Uh-huh.
twist also plays a big factor into this. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but I like that I did. Yeah, there's so much going into here where one, it's tough to say if the hourglass thing is coming back. Like the group consensus is we don't really want to, but if it's there, and we just roll with it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the Survivor 41 cast, yelled at Jeff Probst for a very long time about it. So, and it also seemed like Jeff Probst agreed. It seemed like at the end of everything, he agreed that this was not, that this was too much. This was too far. This was not
yeah,
what they crossed the line. So it does seem like he thinks that, but I also still think that they're going to try to tweak it because they had, like, if they were going into the season and they made these tweaks, like, in that like downtime, the couple weeks going into it,
yeah.
I feel like they're going to think, hey, we could tweak the hourglass too.
maybe. I mean, like I said, I think we all kind of agree, and whether the fact that because 42 have been implementing things better, obviously,
Mhm.
like, it could be like the whole thing with the first pancake where it always comes out a little, not as great.
Mhm.
Um, it's also a thing of like these were a lot of new things that were being thrown at us the first time around. And Jeff even said, yeah, when we introduce this, now people are surprised when we don't have a tribe swap or something like that, or this and that.
Yeah.
It could be something that now that we're used to the idea, um, that some of these twists, like the prisoner's dilemma and the beware idols, were kind of like, ooh, this is interesting.
Yeah, I've actually enjoyed these 2 seasons with no tribe swaps. I've actually because we've been able to really just like fully get the chemistry of the tribe, and it's a lot
Yeah,
easier to follow, who's aligned with who instead of tribe swaps when all of a sudden it's just complete chaos and it's who knows where people really stand because we only get to
yeah.
see so much television.
I remember, so like the first step or the first like full season I watched was Samoa. So
Mhm.
like when it was Samoa, after that was Heroes versus Villains. Like, like they didn't have tribe swaps. So when it happened in Nicaragua, I was like, whoa. And then watching back later season stuff, like it always like bothered me when there was like a theme going on and they would do it, but it's something where I just kind of got like used to after knowing it and stuff.
It's
Like,
one of these things. It's nice sometimes for the players. Like if I was thinking myself as a player, I can see myself on the bottom. Like a tribe swap is awesome. Like it's one of the best things that because it's basically saying, hey, you have a chance to play this game again.
yeah,
But also it can really screw up your game because you could be dominating the first like 10 12 days of the game, get a tribe swap, and then just suddenly you're on the bottom because you picked the wrong thing and it's like, oh great, that's
exactly.
that's fun.
I mean, it's part of like the chaos of the game of Survivor.
Mhm.
Since there's so many things. Like, I mean, if you're going into it, be prepared for a tribe swap.
Mhm.
Especially if you see 20 contestants and stuff. I feel like the balance of the three tribes, six
Mhm.
people on each
Um,
tribe, I feel like it just works so well because you really just, get to be with these people and like see how they interact with each other and,
yeah.
more aggressive gameplay early on,
Mhm.
because the numbers are so small, nowhere to hide.
Exactly. And even if one tribe completely dominates and never goes to tribal, at least going into this merge, there's a chance to take out one of those dominant people.
Mhm.
And, it's not like, oh, now this tribe just has to completely dominate the game because they have more people going into the merge. So there's at least the chance for the tribes that weren't winning to turn the game on its head,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
with how many extra votes are available that could potentially be taken. Who knows?
Oh yeah. If we can do like a little tally of who still has an extra vote, we have Drea, we have Marianne. That's kind of it. Uh,
Yeah.
it's yeah. So like both from like different teams. It's hard to say what when they'll be implemented, things like that, because we still don't know like who's going to be immune and stuff. And I'm glad they're doing this because Survivor learned their lesson. If they
Yeah.
learned anything, it's going to be a 2-hour merge, which I like because
Yeah.
we get to see
Man,
people interact.
it made the merge last season one of the worst experiences I've had in Survivor. Was Hourglass on top of let's make it a 2-part episode.
And no one goes home. And I was
Yeah.
like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's probably better terms out there, but it was Survivor blue balls.
Yeah.
We didn't get what we wanted at the end. We
We
had to
didn't
wait
get
a
that like
whole week.
closure of the merge. Kind of like
Yeah,
I don't know if you don't watch Attack on Titan.
no,
So
I've only yeah.
recently they were like, this is the final season, part two. And
Oh yeah,
then, it was like, oh, so this is the second part, this is gonna be the end. And then they're like, haha, final season part three. And I'm like, okay, hold up. How can it be the final season if you keep breaking it up
yeah,
into like different parts? You have three. So over the course of 3 years, it's the final season. I
Yeah.
think it's just evil manipulative marketing to get us more invested in the thingy.
Yeah.
We're still invested anyway.
Yeah,
Rant over.
I think I said something similar last time. Like Fairy Tale has a final season, had a final season that came out a few years ago, and now they're announced that they're doing another Fairy Tale season. It's like, what? You can't call something a final season. And like literally the guy who created a new project was not as successful, and it's just like trying to just get back into Fairy Tale.
I feel well. I mean, like I haven't watched all of Fairy Tale, just basically what was on Netflix way back when. But it's one of those things where a lot of world building anime and stuff, it's hard to when you build such like an interesting world, and especially when you're having like churning out episodes every single week, it's really hard to like go somewhere else after that, or like to really put a stopper in it, or like because a lot of people are like invested in this world. Part of the reason why Boruto still going on is because Naruto, one of the most iconic anime of all time. Bleach is doing a resurgent thing. Also, we're also in the day and age of requels or legacy sequels, stuff like that.
Yeah, I know that they're bringing back some adult animations. The Futurama and King of the Hill are getting revivals.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, exactly. And but both shows had a very like satisfying ending for the fans.
Yeah.
So now they're bringing them back, and like I doubt they're going to have a bit more satisfying ending. Personally, it's going to be very hard because a lot of shows are known for having bad endings, but these shows both are considered to have good endings.
Yeah,
So
I recently, before they announced it, I was rewatching all the King of the Hills, and like it's a nice thing. For those who don't know already, so apparently this King of the Hill requel series is going to show it's good. They're going to age. So like Bobby is going to be an adult, which I think is very interesting. To see how he turned out. Also just to see like how does King of the Hill kind of address a more woke society.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a very different show back then. And they did target some of this stuff, but there was it's a lot different still. Even though that near the end of the King of the Hill run was when the wokeness was kind of starting to bloom.
Yeah.
And they were tackling it a little bit. There's I think there's like one where kids were allowed to like not play PE, and they were allowed to play video games instead. And so it was all about so that there's ways that they've been able to kind of maybe get to some wokeness, but
I mean, like with the whole thing of like shows like ending, like American Idol, which was like the #1 singing show of its time, and like still one of the top ones. Some people really like The Voice, stuff like that, and Masked Singer, but like it's on the Mount Rushmore of like reality singing shows.
Yeah.
But it ended, and then it came back like what 1-2 years later. If Survivor quote unquote ends one day, I can see them trying to bring it back like 1 or 2 years later. One thing I have to mention about this season, apparently the ratings for each episode have been going up progressively, which is something you never really see.
In fact, Survivor 41 was famous, really famous, more than any other season, for going down every week. It lost so many viewers. I believe actually even going into the season, Survivor was a full like over 1 million down than what it was heading into Survivor 41. But now it's like almost back to where Survivor 41 started. So
I mean, it's always tough to say too, because like with streaming and stuff like that, like if I can watch it live, I'm going to do my best to watch it live. But I'm a busy individual, and sometimes things come up. or I'm on vacation. Well, I was on vacation for this
Yeah.
week, but like,
Yeah.
and so I got to it this morning. But like, you know, it's hard to watch things live, and like a lot of people are, you know, like, oh, I can watch it whenever, and they utilize that.
Yeah, I will say I tried to watch it live this last yesterday, but I didn't watch it at 5 p.m. when it comes on Eastern time. I had to watch it 7 p.m. I was just busy earlier. But when I went on to watch it, CBS platform was down, the Paramount Plus, so I couldn't watch it live. I had to wait for it to finish and then
For it
get
to drop.
uploaded. Yeah,
Yeah.
on the Paramount Plus. So
I mean, nothing's perfect.
for
but
first
in
time
the
that's ever
general-
happened, but I was like kind of mad. I was just like, oh come on, like what's going on?
Well,
Like
yeah,
because I can't really go on YouTube because I have a bunch of Survivor YouTube stuff that will just like freaking spoil it for me. I can't go on any
Can't go on
social
Facebook.
medias because
No.
yeah.
What I do, for those of you that are worried about any kind of spoilers, not just with Survivor, one trick I do for like Facebook is I go to like, I go to where I can make a post and I say, don't spoil yourself for Survivor. And then I don't close it. I exit out of it, but I don't close the app. And so anytime my bored brain decides to click on Facebook and I forgot that, the East Coast is playing Survivor, I don't get spoiled. So it's not always a foolproof thing because sometimes phones like will close things automatically, or like you forget, or you get a push notification and then you forget. But it is something that has helped me a lot, helped save my butt yesterday.
Yeah.
But
Well, one of the worst things is sometimes like I'll want to know like who has advantages, like either while I'm watching the episode or before the episode, like so I can like refresh. You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that because the wiki will immediately tell you who got voted out. So yeah, it's definitely. I preferred watching it live because I didn't have to worry about spoilers. But yeah, it's definitely a struggle living on the West Coast.
which is funny because we provide so much entertainment over here. I mean,
Yeah.
New York does as well, but like Hollywood, when everyone thinks of show business or like TVs and movies, we think Hollywood. What you gonna do?
Exactly. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I should say the only person to not get a confessional last episode was Lindsay. Only person. Everyone else got a confessional. This was Lydia's biggest confessional episode too. She had 5 confessionals.
Yeah, and we did get to see her backstory.
Exactly. So even though Lydia was dark for like 3 episodes like in a row, she's finally being shown.
Well, we never really know going into this merge, you know, who's going to really blossom and stuff. Like, no one really expected Erica to do so. Like, oh, she won.
Her winning episode, like that show that she should have been a winner contender, was the Hourglass episode. The episode everyone hates. So,
and even then, it's like a random thing where it's like no one would really think that's not like a winner moment or anything. I started seeing it around like, when you know, the alliance between you know, Danny and you know, like basically when all you know, that one major alliance like started to like drift apart and everything, and then that's when Erica kind of was like in there like, yeah, I'm going to utilize this situation. But like you never really know going into this. We have to go over our LVP and MVP. I have to assign the LVP to Chanel purely for whatever reason she voted for Mike.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think it's just an inferior move than voting Daniel. It just is. It's your long-term plan is now like she doesn't have a long-term plan, like, and that's what's been very clear is she's very self-interest, whatever gets her to the next vote. which is something similar that Tori's doing. To be honest, they are both very self-interesting players. They clearly don't have a long-term strategy. They have, how do I get through to the next votes?
Well, I mean, when you're on the bottom, that's like all you can really think about.
Yeah, but it's better to feign being with people and having routes than immediately saying I'm never working with Mike, High, or Lydia again.
Yeah. And my MVP has changed, but it's not because of what was in the episode. It's what you said happened outside of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving it to Roxroy for getting a huge octopus.
Let's go, Roxroy.
Which is kind of funny because I think another reason they made fishing a point in this episode, and they were showing Jonathan fishing and stuff. I feel like they didn't want to show up Jonathan. It was like, oh yeah,
and Daniel fished, so there's two fishing things.
I think because Roxroy got an octopus, and CBS is, we can't have him outshine Aquaman, so we'll have it online. He can have his moment there, but we can't let Roxroy have any positive content during Survivor. Roxroy, you get MVP for getting an octopus and leading and fueling your team to victory.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
I'm gonna say another person who we didn't. I think a lot of what I'm giving the MVP was out of that what we didn't see in the episode, but I'm giving it to High. From what I heard from Daniel was that High is the reason Daniel goes home here, because Daniel felt so calm and like he believed so much that High and him had bonded like so strongly, that he thought it was impossible. He thought that there was no way that High could have been this genuine with him and then voted him out.
Yeah, very solid point. It's funny. Both our MVPs are outside events that influenced it.
So Survivor, I should have included some of these things, but that's why we need to make Survivor 2 hours every week.
I would find a way to fit it in, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, 2 hours is like basically a movie.
It is a lot. So when we have those 2 hour episodes,
an hour 30 minutes. And with commercials, it's basically like 50-ish, or like closer to like 58, 59, kind of like something you'd see on streaming service. But
and to be fair, it also maybe just didn't make sense story-wise, because in the Roxroy catching the octopus, Tori said like, I didn't like Roxroy, but now that he caught the fish, like maybe we can work together or something. Like she had like this almost kind of like, maybe this could happen.
Who can change anyone's mind about anyone? It's something where hey, you want to help me move? Pizza. I have fallen, or not fallen victim. They were friends, so obviously I was helping. The pizza was a bonus, but like, oh, food, why not? The little bribes that way. All right, so going into this merge, who would you say you, given this point in the game, has the best shot of winning?
Best shot of winning.
Yes.
Let's see. If we're looking at each tribe, I can give you a winner pick on each tribe, I think, because I think
that works.
On Taku, I think that we have maybe Taku is kind of weird because I see a lot of like they could win.
Everyone has like a win condition. I even think Lindsay has a great win condition. I was even talking to a friend yesterday about it. I'm like, keep an eye out for her. I said this in the beginning, like, do not underestimate this woman. She is not just like a pretty face and stuff like that. I
think she's the biggest sleeper threat here on this. Like, if she gets there with maybe out and without any of the Taku, but she's like the last Taku that made it to the end there, I think she wins the game. I think she has a good chance. I think Omer
Omer is
has
another solid choice.
Omer would be probably my pick on the Taku tribe. I think he's got a lot of positive content. Even when something bad happens to him, like in this challenge, I think that there's still not too much of an emphasis on it. It's like, don't worry about it. We got Jonathan. He's going to cover for any mistakes you make. But overall, I mean, we've just seen. I see like we keep hearing from Omer every episode. We're constantly knowing what's Omer thinking about the tribe dynamic. What's he thinking about this person right now? So I think he's the best chance over there. On the Vati tribe, I mean, it's either Hai or Mike. I think
I can honestly see either. Like Mike, Mike is interesting because like he's like the dramatic foil of Roxroy in the sense of like, yeah, he's someone who is set in his ways and stuff. And yeah, like he didn't read the fine print of the idol.
Yeah.
However, overall, yeah, he's been like screwed over and didn't, was like, oh, I'm not loyal to you anymore. But he's never like super mad about it. He's usually like a very positive person about everything.
He said he's like a big teddy bear, and
I think it shows. So I wouldn't count him out. Hai, definitely, I feel I can see him being a huge target, a strategic target in the thing, especially since he's, I'd say, out of everyone, he's in the most apparent like duo.
Yeah.
When you're an apparent duo going into the merge, that's 2 votes, and like if they seem like in a leadership position like that, they might get targeted. But I still think
I think if Hai makes the end, he's more likely to win than if Mike makes it to the end. I can definitely see Mike getting to the end and being the 0 vote finalist as well. I could see people not respecting his game at the end. So that's my only kind of like deterrent, is that I could see them wanting to give it to someone that's maybe played a more strategic game. I mean, we still have to see, maybe he can do something big with his idol. Like I think he has to he needs some of these big moves so far, at least those first 2 tribals that he's been to.
Well, it's really hard to base it after 2 tribal councils. That like,
I mean, we're basing on everyone's except Taku has been,
well, except for Taku, but like we're basing it off of like everyone going semi on an equal playing field in that regard. For Ika, I have to say, like, Romeo, kind of like in that sleeper threat position, and he does get a lot of confessionals and stuff like that, and he never seems to be like in danger the 2 times Ika has gone.
I think Drea is going to get targeted. So I don't think she makes it to the end.
I feel like the one thing, I feel like it would be tough for her, but I'd say if there was a 2nd place on that tribe, win condition why, I can see Drea. I love Tori.
Yeah, I mean, if Drea gets the end and wins this game, I mean, it's probably going to be one of the most dominant wins in a while. Like it's, I
mean,
at least
she has a lot going for her. She has a lot of going for her coming into the merge, and like she's a smart woman. Like depending on what takes place, things like that. If she plays her cards right and her advantages, it could.
I think there's a lot of like there's a lot more that needs to go in her favor than these other people.
Well, and we're gonna find out next week, kind of like get a sense of like where this season's gonna go from there on.
If Drea goes out with 3 advantages,
that is like no. That's like Rian Johnson levels of like, whoa, plot twist. I like Rian Johnson. I like The Last Jedi, and I love Knives Out. That wasn't a knock on Rian Johnson. It was just like that's like a Rian Johnson twist right there.
Ryan likes all Ryans. We get it.
I do like Ryan Reynolds. He's another favorite actor of mine. Not my absolute favorite, but he's up there.
Exactly.
All the Ryans meet up every 4th Tuesday of each month.
Okay, well, if you're Ryan out there, you know where to meet up with all the Ryans in the world, I guess. So
I actually ran into a Ryan at Disneyland. We were like, we were just like talking in line, and then like this couple like It was like, yeah, my name is also Ryan, and his last name also started with a W, and I was like, oh,
Nice,
anyway.
nice. Well, I think that's going to do it here for this episode of the Day After Podcasts.
Yeah, I hope you guys are excited for the merge or the Furge.
Yeah, remember Xander? I remembered Xander called it the Mergatory.
Mergatory. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Mergatory.
Yeah.
That was another good one.
Yes.
But Furge is simpler to say.
Yeah, I wonder who's going to name this one, because there's usually someone who they like to give someone the name giver.
It's gonna be Marianne. As soon as you said that, she was the first one that came to mind.
Yeah, she's definitely very likely. But Daniel, we didn't even mention him and his analogy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jeff threw the analogy at Daniel, thinking, hey, he's gonna probably be really good at analogies, because they usually choose the like nerdier kind of smart person. And he's like, Jeff, I don't know analogies. And then like 10 seconds later, it's like, I have an analogy.
Yeah, as a nerdy individual, I like my analogies. You guys have witnessed it a lot. I've gotten better at them, so it's not just Pokemon related. But yeah, it was a nice little moment. It was like Daniel was someone where he brought a lot of entertainment, and like I would say strategy wise, not telling Mike about like how to do how the idol actually works was like a very interesting thing, because I feel like this time around with the Beware idol, like the thing was like, oh, how's this going to happen? This looks crazy. It's never going to happen. How are all these people going to say it? And this time it was like, well, is he going to say it? That was kind of like the theme or the story for the Beware idols this time around. So it played into that, and as well as like the Bati drama.
Yeah, I will say he also did not blame Chanel at all for like what's happened to him, which is just so baffling, because if she doesn't risk her vote there, they vote out Lydia, and then this never blows up. They have control. They vote out Hai this week probably, and they make it to the merge, not having any ill will against each other. So
very it could be what
it's a different season. It's a fully different season.
Yeah, if Hai is the winner of this season, or Lydia,
yeah,
it's one of those what if scenarios that that Survivor is famous for. Like one of them being, like Wu, taking Tony instead of Chaos Cass. Like, I don't think that will be that. It will be interesting, but it's one of those what if moments in Survivor. If
it's in the same category of if Erica didn't have to smash that hourglass.
It didn't. Oh gosh. I have. We'll get to it next week.
I'm hoping. So far, I've liked the season, but if
I really like this season.
I'm really afraid. Like the hourglass is the most scary part of what we know from 41. Is what? Yeah. How is this hourglass? What's happening now?
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's gonna do it. Yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. We shall see you in the next one.
All right. Peace.